Ambassador Neelix of the Xendari Confederation adjusted his iridescent robes and cleared his throat sacs, the slight tremor in his tentacles betraying his nervousness. The great chamber of the Galactic Federation stretched before him, its crystalline dome housing representatives from over 3,000 civilized worlds. Today's agenda: Earth's application for membership. Esteemed colleagues, he began, his translator working overtime to convey the proper gravitas. I present for your consideration the application of Sol 3, locally known as Earth, for provisional membership in our illustrious federation. The chamber erupted in chittering laughter. From her observation pod, Dr. Maya Chen watched with the kind of smile usually reserved for people about to walk face first into a glass door. High Counselor Vrax Tin of the Centaurian hegemony waved 3 of his appendages dismissively. Are we seriously entertaining an application from a death world? Their planet harbors over 500 species of active predators. They haven't even eliminated their natural enemies. And indeed, buzzed Administrator K. Lick of the Hive Collective, her antennae twitching with barely contained amusement. Our preliminary surveys indicate they actually cohabitate with these creatures. They keep miniature killing machines in their dwellings. They call the cats and dogs. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Dr. Chen's smile widened imperceptibly. The humans themselves, continued Vrax Tin, pulling up a holographic display, evolved from pursuit predators. They still possess vestigial hunting instincts. Their recreation often involves simulated hunting activities. They're barely more than sophisticated carnivores. Ambassador Neelix's throat sacs pulsed anxiously. He'd been Earth's strongest advocate since first contact, but even he had to admit their peculiarities were challenging to explain to the wider galactic community. If I may, he ventured, while Earth's predator situation is unique, their technological advancement. They use their technology to preserve predator species, interrupted Delegate Izik of the Rational Worlds Consortium, the gelatinous being quivered with indignation. They have entire facilities dedicated to maintaining dangerous creatures. They call them zoos and wildlife preserves. It's barbaric. Dr. Chen finally stood, her movement drawing all eyes in the chamber. She was the only human present, and her calm demeanor seemed almost out of place amid the theatrical alien disapproval. Honorable representatives, she began, her voice carrying a hint of amusement that made Ambassador Neelix's throat sacs constrict with worry. You seem very focused on Earth's predators. I find that interesting, considering that just last month, the Federation lost an entire research outpost on Proxima IV to a single escaped nexu. The chamber fell silent. The Proxima IV incident was still a fresh wound. Perhaps. And she continued, casually examining her datapad, instead of viewing Earth's experience with predators as a primitive trait, you might consider it a unique expertise. After all, any species that can turn apex predators into loyal companions might have something valuable to teach about handling dangerous fauna. Ambassador Neelix's throat sacs suddenly felt very dry. He recognized that tone. It was the same one Dr. Chen had used 6 months ago, just before she completely upended everything the Federation thought they knew about human capabilities. The High Counselor's appendages twitched nervously. Are you suggesting? Oh, I'm not suggesting anything, Dr. Chen replied with that same knowing smile. I'm simply wondering if the Council would be interested in hearing about how we handled our predator situation. It's quite an entertaining story, actually. The chamber remained silent, but now it was a different kind of silence, the kind that happens when a room full of beings simultaneously realizes they might have badly misjudged a situation. Dr. Chen's smile grew just a fraction wider. Shall I begin? 6 months earlier, Chief Observer Kelvin of the Galactic Federation Assessment Team prided himself on being unflappable. In 3 decades of evaluating potential member worlds, he'd seen everything from societies living in gas giant clouds to civilizations that communicated entirely through interpretive dance. But Earth was testing his composure. And this is normal, he asked, mandibles clicking rapidly, as he watched a human child throw a small object, while a 4-legged predator, a dog, chased after it with clear hunting intensity. Dr. Chen nodded, enjoying the way his crystalline exoskeleton shifted colors with anxiety. Completely normal. That's Max and his golden retriever, Bailey. They're playing fetch. Playing with a predator, muttered Senior Evaluator Xendari, her tentacles curling tightly against her body. The same species you derived from wolves, the pack hunters. The very same Dr. Chen confirmed cheerfully. Would you like to meet them? Bailey loves meeting new people. The entire assessment team took 3 simultaneous steps backward. Kelvin's exoskeleton turned a distinctive shade of worried mauve. That won't be necessary, he managed, making a note on his holopad. Perhaps we could proceed to the next phase of our evaluation. Dr. Chen consulted her schedule. Ah, perfect timing. We have a tour scheduled at the Big Cat Sanctuary. The color drained entirely from Kelvin's exoskeleton. Big Cat. Oh yes, Dr. Chen said, leading them toward the waiting transport. You'll love it. They're doing the afternoon feeding demonstration. During the ride, she watched with amusement as the team huddled together, whispered frantically, and reviewed their emergency protocols at least 3 times. The Federation's preliminary surveys had documented Earth's predator species, but apparently nothing had prepared them for the reality of how humans interacted with them. The sanctuary's director, Dr. Miguel Ramirez, greeted them at the entrance. Behind him, the distinct sound of a lion's roar made senior evaluator Xendari's tentacles tie themselves into a knot. Welcome to Paradise Big Cat Sanctuary, Miguel announced proudly. We're home to 37 rescued big cats, including lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars. Today you'll see how we care for these magnificent creatures. Rescued Kelvin's translator struggled with the concept. You deliberately collect more predators. Of course, Miguel replied, leading them toward the first enclosure. Many of these animals were rescued from illegal private collections or unsuitable conditions. We provide them with proper care and enrichment while educating the public about conservation. Conservation, Xendari repeated weakly. You actively work to prevent their extinction. Absolutely, Miguel's enthusiasm made several evaluators flinch. In fact, we've had great success with our breeding program. Would you like to see our new tiger cubs? The assessment team's collective horror at the concept of deliberately breeding more apex predators was interrupted by the arrival of lead handler Jade Wong, carrying what appeared to be several chunks of meat. Perfect timing, she called out. We're about to do Kong's enrichment training. They watched, transfixed, as Jade entered a secured area and began working with a full-grown male lion. The massive predator followed her commands, demonstrating complex behaviors while receiving food rewards. The entire time, she maintained a running commentary about positive reinforcement training and the importance of mental stimulation for captive predators. Is she controlling that creature through some form of neural interface? Assistant observer Yixville asked hopefully. Nope, Dr. Chen replied, popping the P sound in a way that made Kelvin's exoskeleton ripple. Just trust, understanding, and a whole lot of training. But Kelvin's mandibles clicked rapidly. Our records show that specimen could easily kill her with a single strike. Oh, absolutely, Dr. Chen agreed cheerfully. Kong weighs about 420 pounds and has a bite force that could crush bones. But he chooses not to. Chooses. The entire team chorused in disbelief. Humans have a long history of working with predator species, Dr. Chen explained, leading them toward the next exhibit. We learned early on that understanding and respecting them works better than fearing or trying to eliminate them. But why, Xendari demanded, her tentacles gesturing wildly. Why maintain relationships with deadly creatures? Dr. Chen paused, considering how to explain something that seemed so fundamental to human nature. You know how humans evolved as pursuit predators ourselves, right? The team nodded nervously. Well, maybe that's why we understand them so well. We recognize in them something of ourselves: the intelligence, the social bonds, the complex behaviors. We learned that predators aren't mindless killing machines. They're sophisticated beings worthy of respect and protection. She watched their expressions or equivalent features as they observed humans and dangerous predators interacting with obvious trust and affection. Their horror was gradually giving way to confusion, and just perhaps a hint of curiosity. Besides, she added with a grin, wait until you see the wolf sanctuary tomorrow. And after that, we're visiting the venomous snake handling demonstration. The sound of Kelvin's exoskeleton changing colors was audible this time. I believe, he said faintly, we may need to revise several sections of our preliminary assessment. Dr. Chen's grin widened. They hadn't even gotten to the part about humans keeping spiders as pets yet. The Federation's Science Council was not impressed. After 3 days of tours showcasing humanity's relationships with predators, they'd called an emergency session at their temporary Earth headquarters. "This is completely unacceptable," declared Chief Scientist Vex Lore, his crystalline form vibrating with agitation. "These humans are clearly delusional about their capabilities. We demand empirical proof of their supposed superiority over predator species." Dr. Chen sat at the conference table, casually sipping her coffee, while 17 of the galaxy's most distinguished xenobiologists worked themselves into various species-specific forms of apoplexy. "What exactly," she asked mildly, "would you consider empirical proof?" "Controlled demonstrations," buzzed Dr. Zix Ka of the Hive Collective. "Scientific observation of human-predator interactions under laboratory conditions." "And none of your preset performances with captive-bred specimens," added junior researcher Yith, their bioluminescent spots flashing with skepticism. "We want to see how you handle truly wild predators." Dr. Chen's smile would have made a shark proud. "As it happens, I have something arranged that might interest you. The Global Predator Research Center is expecting us in an hour." The GPRC was a sprawling complex in Tanzania, combining cutting-edge research facilities with vast natural habitats. As their transport landed, Dr. Chen watched the scientists' reactions to the sight of master handler Marcus Wong casually walking alongside a full-grown African lioness. "Before anyone asks, no neural controls, no behavior modification implants, and no pharmaceutical assistance," she announced. "Just good old-fashioned human expertise." Marcus approached, the lioness padding silently beside him. He was a stocky man in his 50s, with laugh lines around his eyes and the relaxed confidence of someone who had spent decades working with apex predators. "Welcome to GPRC," he said cheerfully. "This is Nala. Don't worry, she's already had lunch." Several scientists recoiled at his attempt at humor. Vex Lore's crystalline form took on a distinctly nauseated hue. "Impossible," declared Dr. Zix Kai. "Our scans show no technological interventions. How are you controlling that creature?" "Controlling," Marcus chuckled, scratching Nala behind the ears. The lioness rumbled contentedly. "We don't control them, we work with them. Understanding, respect, and trust, that's the foundation of our relationship with predator species." "But your prey-sized organisms," protested junior researcher Yith. "Our evolutionary analysis shows your species lacks significant natural weapons or defenses." "Ah," Marcus said, his eyes twinkling. "That's where you're wrong. Let me show you our most powerful natural weapon." He led them into the facility's main research area. One wall was covered with ancient cave paintings showing early humans hunting alongside wolves. Another displayed brain scans comparing human and predator cognitive functions. "Intelligence," Marcus explained, pulling up a holographic display. "Pattern recognition, tool use, social cooperation, long-term planning. These were our evolutionary advantages. We didn't need to be the strongest or fastest, we just needed to be the smartest." "Theory is all very well," Vex Lore interrupted, "but we demand practical demonstration." "Happy to oblige," Marcus replied. "Dr. Chen, shall we show them the afternoon training session?" What followed was a masterclass in human-predator interaction. They watched as Marcus and his team worked with everything from wolves to tigers, demonstrating complex training techniques and behavioral enrichment programs. Each exercise was accompanied by detailed scientific explanations of the psychological and evolutionary principles at work. "Notice how we use the predator's natural instincts and behaviors," Marcus explained while a handler demonstrated scent tracking exercises with a pack of wolves. "We didn't need to eliminate these species to dominate our environment, we learned to understand and work with them instead." The scientist watched in stunned silence as handlers demonstrated protective handling techniques with venomous snakes, training sessions with big cats, and rehabilitation work with injured predators. "But they could still kill you," protested Dr. Zix Ka. "Of course they could," Marcus agreed easily. "Just like your spacecraft could explode or your artificial gravity could fail. Any powerful force requires respect and understanding to work with safely. We've just been doing it longer with predators than most species." He pulled up another display, this one showing historical data. "When early humans first started hunting large prey, we weren't the strongest or fastest, but we could observe, plan, and adapt. We learned to read animal behavior, to predict movements, to use the environment to our advantage. Those same skills later helped us form partnerships with certain predator species, like wolves." "You turned wolves into dogs," Vex Lore noted, his crystalline form showing hints of reluctant fascination. We formed a mutually beneficial relationship, Marcus corrected. They got reliable food sources and social bonds, we got hunting partners and protection. It's a partnership that's lasted tens of thousands of years. He led them to a final demonstration area, where a team was conducting research on predator cognition. They watched as lions, tigers, and wolves solved complex puzzle feeders, demonstrating problem-solving abilities that clearly impressed even the skeptical alien scientists. You see, Dr. Chen added, humans became Earth's apex predator not by being the most lethal, but by being the most adaptable. We learned to understand and work with predator species instead of just fearing them. That's why we preserve them. They're part of the complex ecosystem we evolved to navigate and manage. And that's why Marcus concluded, as Nala flopped down next to his chair with a contented rumble, we might just have something to teach the galaxy about handling dangerous species. The scientists were silent for a long moment, their various data recording devices whirring busily. Finally, Vexlor spoke. Your arguments are compelling, he admitted reluctantly. But surely you must acknowledge that maintaining relationships with dangerous predators carries significant risks. Dr. Chen and Marcus exchanged knowing looks. Oh, absolutely, she agreed. In fact, would you like to see our incident response protocols? We have an excellent demonstration planned for tomorrow. The way every scientist's universal translator simultaneously struggled with their species equivalent of "oh no" was, Dr. Chen thought, absolutely priceless. The emergency alert blared through the GPRC complex just as Dr. Zixka was working up to another protest about human recklessness. The Federation's universal translators struggled to keep up with the rapid-fire security announcements. Alert Code Crimson. Containment breach on Federation vessel Xenozoological 7. Class of predator species nexu. All personnel evacuate immediately. The alien scientists exploded into chaos. Vexlor's crystalline form shifted through 17 different colors in 3 seconds. Dr. Zixka's wings buzzed so frantically she actually achieved liftoff. Evacuate. Evacuate. Junior researcher Yith's bioluminescent spots were strobing like a disco ball. The nexu will slaughter everything in a 50-kilometer radius. Dr. Chen calmly set down her coffee cup. What exactly is a nexu? Marcus pulled up the xenobiological database on his tablet, whistling low. 6-leg apex predator from Kolgana. Basically a cross between a tiger and a velociraptor, with enhanced sensory capabilities and natural armor plating. Neat. Define neat, Dr. Chen said dryly. Well, it's got these specialized sensory quills that can detect. Have you lost your minds? Vexlor interrupted, his crystalline form now a particularly vivid shade of panic purple. A nexu killed 16 of our best handlers and destroyed an entire research outpost on Proxima IV. Marcus said, studying the database. Looks like they were using neural restraints and force field containment. No wonder it went badly. Dr. Chen peered at the tablet. Traditional predator handling techniques would probably work better. Their behavioral patterns seem similar to Earth's big cats, just with extra legs and better sensors. Are you suggesting Dr. Zixka's translator actually glitched from her pitch? You cannot be serious. Why not? Marcus shrugged, already gathering his tracking equipment. It's just a big cat with bonus features. We've got protocols for this. The Federation security channel crackled to life. Attention, nexu spotted heading toward population center. Emergency evacuation of Sector 7 recommended. Oh, that won't be necessary, Dr. Chen said into her communicator. Dr. Chen and Handler Wong responding. We'll handle it. There was a long pause from the other end. Handler Wong wants to handle the nexu. That is literally my job title, Marcus pointed out, checking his tranquilizer supplies. The alien scientists formed a physical barrier between them and the door, which would have been more impressive if they weren't all visibly trembling. This is suicide, Vexlor vibrated. The nexu has already killed 3 security droids. Well, yeah, Marcus said, packing his gear. It's probably scared and defending itself. Those droids probably just agitated it more. Listen, Dr. Chen addressed the panicking aliens. You wanted proof of human capabilities with dangerous predators. Here's your chance to observe our methods in action. But Dr. Zixka's wings were creating small windstorms. The nexu has twice the mass of an Earth tiger. It has natural armor. It has enhanced senses. And we have pattern recognition, tool use, and decades of experience, Marcus countered. Plus, I've got beef jerky in my pocket. Beef jerky, the universal translators struggled with the concept. High-value food reward, Dr. Chen explained. Trust me, it works on pretty much every predator species we've encountered. They're suckers for dried meat. The security channel crackled again. Nexu has disabled another security drone. It's approaching the perimeter of... Yeah, we're on it, Dr. Chen interrupted. Just keep everyone clear and let us work. And somebody get me a thermal imaging feed. She turned to the still protesting scientists. You can either stay here and panic or come observe from a safe distance. Your choice. This is madness, Vexlor declared, even as his crystalline form shifted to a shade indicating intense scientific curiosity. The Federation's best containment teams couldn't handle a nexu. Well, Marcus said, checking his tracking tablet. Maybe that's because they tried to contain it instead of understanding it. He glanced at the thermal feed. Look at its movement pattern. It's not hunting, it's searching for a defensible territory. Classic displaced predator behavior. Dr. Chen nodded. Standard protocol then? Establish a perimeter, predict its movement pattern, set up a safe containment zone. With some modifications for the extra legs and sensory capabilities, Marcus agreed. Want to bet it responds to the same calming pheromones we use for big cats. You cannot seriously be discussing this like it's a routine operation. Dr. Zixka's translator was starting to smoke from her agitation. Dr. Chen smiled that shark-like smile again. On Earth, this is Tuesday. Now, are you coming to observe or not? Because that nexu isn't going to rescue itself. The alien scientists looked at each other, their various physiologies expressing a mix of horror, disbelief, and unmistakable curiosity. For the sake of scientific documentation, Vexlor said stiffly, his form settling into research mode colors, we will observe, from a very safe distance. Suit yourself, Marcus said cheerfully, heading for the door. Just try to keep the panicked screaming to a minimum. Predators can sense fear, you know. The sound of multiple alien species trying not to hyperventilate in 17 different ways followed them out. Well, would you look at that, Marcus whispered, studying the thermal imaging display. It's using the same hunting routes a big cat would choose. Dr. Chen and Marcus were crouched behind a ridge, watching the nexu's heat signature move through the landscape. Behind them, at what they considered an absurdly excessive distance, the Federation scientists monitored through high-powered scanners. Makes sense, Dr. Chen murmured. 6 legs or not, predator logic is predator logic. It's following the terrain features, seeking high ground with good visibility. The nexu's massive form appeared briefly on a ridgeline, its 6-legged silhouette eerily beautiful against the setting sun. Its sensory quills twitched, sampling the air, while its natural armor plates gleamed dully. Scared, but not panicked, Marcus noted, watching its body language. See how it's moving? Methodical terrain assessment. It's looking for a defensible position, not randomly running. Through their earpieces, they could hear the alien scientists frantically commenting. They're within killing range. Vexlor's crystalline tones vibrated with tension. Why isn't it attacking them? Dr. Zixka buzzed. Our data shows nexu always attack prey-sized organisms on sight. Because Dr. Chen subvocalized into her mic, we're not acting like prey. We're moving with purpose, staying aware but calm. Basic predator psychology, they react to behavior patterns more than size. Marcus was already unpacking his gear. Notice how it keeps circling back to that elevated position. That's where we'll make contact. Classic territorial behavior, it's claiming a defendable space. He pulled out what looked like ordinary camping supplies, some rope, a few poles, some sheets of lightweight material. The alien scientist's scanners whirred frantically. Those are primitive tools, junior researcher Yith observed, their bioluminescent spots pulsing with confusion. Sometimes primitive is better, Dr. Chen replied, helping Marcus set up. Predators understand simple things: territory, food, safety. You try to use force fields and neural restraints, you just confuse and terrify them. They worked quickly, setting up what was essentially a massive cat trap, a confined space with one entrance, carefully positioned along the nexu's patrol route. Marcus pulled out his secret weapon, that beef jerky. You cannot be serious, Vexlor's voice crackled through their earpieces. You're trying to lure a class of predator with dried meat. Watch and learn. Marcus grinned, creating a scent trail leading to their trap. Every predator appreciates a good snack. They withdrew to concealed positions and waited. The nexu made another patrol circuit, its sensory quills twitching as it caught the scent of the jerky. It paused, studying the trap site with obvious intelligence. "Look at that assessment behavior," Dr. Chen whispered into her mic. "Just like a big cat evaluating a new situation. Cautious, but curious." The nexu approached slowly, its 6 legs moving with liquid grace. It examined the trap from multiple angles, sensory quills working overtime. "Now comes the clever bit," Marcus murmured. He pulled out a small device that emitted a low-frequency purr, similar to the sounds made by contented Earth felines. The alien scientists' collective gasp was audible even from their distant position as the nexu's aggressive posture slowly began to relax. "Predator language is pretty universal," Dr. Chen explained quietly. "Certain sounds mean safe across species. We learned that working with Earth's big cats." The nexu was fully focused on the trap now, drawn by the combination of food scent and reassuring sounds. It took one step inside, then another. Now Marcus breathed. Dr. Chen triggered the closure mechanism's simple rope and pulleys, nothing high-tech to trigger the nexu's defensive instincts. The trap closed smoothly, containing but not constraining the creature. The nexu's first reaction was surprisingly mild. It investigated its new enclosure with curiosity rather than panic, already munching on the strategically placed jerky. "See," Marcus said, approaching the trap carefully. "No neural restraints needed. Just understanding of predator psychology and a bit of human ingenuity." The alien scientists were utterly silent as they watched Marcus begin building rapport with the contained nexu, offering more treats through the safety barrier and maintaining a constant soothing conversation. "Impossible," Dr. Zixka finally buzzed. "Our best handler's the most advanced technology. How did you?" "Because we didn't try to dominate it," Dr. Chen explained, watching Marcus work. "We respected its nature and worked with its instincts instead of against them. That's humanity's real superpower. We understand predators because we used to be them." Within an hour, the nexu was calmly accepting food from Marcus's hand through the barrier. Within 2, it was responding to basic commands. By sunset, they had it loaded into a transport container, unharmed and relatively relaxed. The Federation scientists approached cautiously, their various physiologies expressing different flavors of stunned disbelief. "In 6 hours," Vexlor said slowly, his crystalline form showing colors they'd never seen before, "you accomplished what our best teams couldn't do in months. With nothing but jerky and ropes." "And understanding," Dr. Chen corrected. "Don't forget the understanding." They watched as the nexu, now safely contained, purred contentedly at Marcus's final offering of treats. "Perhaps," Dr. Zixka admitted, her wings finally still, "we have somewhat underestimated human capabilities regarding predator species." "Oh honey," Dr. Chen smiled, "you haven't even seen us at our best yet. Want to know what we can do with proper preparation and equipment?" The aliens' collective expression suggested they weren't quite ready for that revelation. "Not just yet." The great chamber of the Galactic Federation had fallen into complete silence as Dr. Chen finished her account. Ambassador Neelix's throat sacs had finally stopped pulsing with anxiety and now showed distinct signs of smugness. "So you see, Dr. Chen concluded, casually examining her datapad, "in the 6 months since that incident, Earth has established the Federation's most successful predator management program. We've resolved 27 dangerous species situations across 12 systems, with 0 casualties, human or alien." High Counselor Vrax Tin's appendages twitched nervously. "And the nexu from the incident?" "Oh, you mean Kong Jr.?" Dr. Chen smiled. "He's now our star pupil at the Interstellar Predator Research Center. Helps train our handlers in xenopredator management techniques. Absolutely loves beef jerky, by the way." Administrator K. Lick's antennae drooped in disbelief. "You named it." "Of course we did. Just like we named all the others in our program. Did you know your supposedly untamable Scraxian wolf wasps respond remarkably well to positive reinforcement training? Turns out they're quite fond of synthesized honey." The chamber erupted in murmured conversations. Finally, Ambassador Neelix cleared his throat sacs. "Honored representatives, I move that we not only accept Earth's application for Federation membership, but also propose them to head our new Galactic Dangerous Species Management Division." Seconded, called out a voice from the back. To everyone's surprise, it was Delegate Isaac of the Rational Worlds Consortium. Their primitive obsession with predators has unexpected benefits. All in favor, Vrax Tin asked. The chamber lit up with affirmative indicators. Dr. Chen's smile would have made a nexu proud. We accept, of course. And I already have some suggestions about improving your xenozoological containment protocols. For starters, maybe fewer neural restraints, more beef jerky. As the chamber filled with relieved laughter, Ambassador Neelix leaned over to Dr. Chen. You planned this all along, didn't you? Used our prejudices about Earth's predators to demonstrate your expertise. Now, Ambassador Dr. Chen replied with a wink. Would a primitive species from a death world be capable of such complex strategic thinking? Somewhere in the background, a Federation news alert pinged breaking humans appointed as Galaxy's official predator whisperers. More at 7. Dr. Chen smiled. She couldn't wait to tell Marcus he'd just won their bet about how long it would take to get humanity appointed as the Galaxy's pet sitters. After all, someone had to teach these civilized worlds how to talk to the monsters under their beds. Who better than the species that learned to make those monsters sit, stay, and roll over for treats?